Almost every Monday, you think about quitting. Maybe even every morning. You imagine sending that resignation email, walking out of the office, starting over somewhere new, but then, you don't. Days become weeks. Weeks become months. Sometimes, years. You tell yourself, maybe next month. Maybe after this project. Maybe when things calm down. But they never do. So why do so many people stay in jobs that make them unhappy? And why is leaving often much harder than it seems? Let's explore the psychology behind staying. 1. Your brain prefers familiar pain. Most people assume we always choose what's best for us. But our brains often choose what's familiar instead, even if familiar means stress, frustration, or constant exhaustion. Psychologists sometimes describe this as our preference for certainty over uncertainty. An unpleasant situation you already know can feel safer than an unknown future. 2. Change feels like a risk. Leaving a job isn't just changing where you work, it's changing routines, identity, co-workers, income, daily habits. Your brain treats every major change as a potential threat. Even positive changes can trigger anxiety. That's why excitement and fear often appear together. 3. The sunk cost trap. Imagine spending 5 years building a career, making sacrifices, working overtime, learning new skills. Now imagine walking away. Many people think, I've invested too much to leave now. Psychologists call this the sunk cost fallacy. The more time and energy we've invested, the harder it becomes to let go, even when staying no longer serves us. 4. Bad leadership slowly drains motivation. Not every difficult job is caused by the work itself. Sometimes, it's the environment. A manager who never listens, constant criticism, unclear expectations, micromanagement. Over time, these experiences don't just create stress, they reduce motivation, confidence, and even creativity. Eventually, people stop bringing their best ideas to work, not because they stopped caring, because they stopped believing it mattered. 5. Learned helplessness. If you've tried to improve your situation, asked for change, shared feedback, and nothing happened, your brain may begin learning a dangerous lesson. Nothing I do makes a difference. Psychologists call this learned helplessness. Eventually, people stop trying, not because they're lazy, because experience has taught them that effort feels pointless. 6. Burnout clouds your decisions. Ironically, the worse burnout becomes, the harder it is to make big decisions. Looking for a new job requires energy. Updating a resume, preparing for interviews, learning new skills. But burnout leaves you with very little energy to begin with, so you stay. Not because you're happy, because you're exhausted. 7. Fear of regret. Our brains don't only fear making mistakes, they fear making irreversible mistakes. What if my next job is worse? What if I fail? What if I regret leaving? These questions often keep people frozen, yet many never ask the opposite question. What if I regret staying? 8. Comfort can become a cage. Humans adapt surprisingly quickly. Even unhealthy situations begin feeling normal. You stop noticing the constant stress, the Sunday anxiety, the emotional exhaustion, until one day you realize you've been surviving instead of living. 9. Competent leaders create psychological safety. Research consistently shows that people don't just stay because of salary. They stay because they feel respected, heard, trusted. Good leadership doesn't remove every challenge, but it creates psychological safety. The feeling that mistakes can be discussed, ideas can be shared, and effort is recognized. Without that safety, even meaningful work can become emotionally exhausting. 10. Small steps feel less threatening. Leaving doesn't always begin with resigning. Sometimes, it begins with updating your resume, learning one new skill, talking to someone in another company, exploring opportunities. Small actions reduce uncertainty, and uncertainty is often what keeps us stuck. 11. Staying is also a decision. Many people think they're avoiding a decision, but staying is a decision too. Every month, you remain somewhere. You're choosing that version of your future. That doesn't automatically mean you should leave, but it does mean the choice deserves conscious thought, not just habit. If you've been dreaming about quitting your job, but never seem to take the first step, don't assume you're weak or unmotivated. Your brain is trying to balance safety, certainty, and survival. Sometimes, it chooses familiarity over possibility. But awareness changes everything. Because once you understand why you're staying, you can finally ask a different question. Not, am I brave enough to leave? But, is this still the life I want to build? And sometimes, that single question becomes the beginning of real change.